Hi and welcome to another gaming video, and in today's video I want to show you what happens when you put a original Game Boy game into a Game Boy Advance SP. So the reason I bought my Game Boy Advance SP is so I could play Game Boy and Game Boy Color games and Game Boy Advance games all on one system, and I wanted a nice way to play it because the original Game Boy and even the Game Boy Pocket, which is my son's, it's a mono unlit screen. Even the Game Boy Color and the original Game Boy Advance has this unlit screen. So I picked up the SP. Now this is the first version, so it's the AGS 001. They did a nicer one with a backlit screen, so this is the front lit one, but it's still lit. So what happens if you put a Game Boy game into a Game Boy Advance SP? So it pops in there, it sticks out quite a bit. It did the same on the original Game Boy Advance, but does it make it a nice experience to play? I mean, even with the original model Game Boy Advance SP, that screen is superb. It's an original Game Boy game, and if you popped it in a Color or an Advance, it adds some slight colour into it, but the screen is just really nice. It's totally playable, even in poorish light, and you can see the screen. If I now go and just turn my lights out, you can see it's great. It's not an awesome screen, but it's far more improved than the Game Boy, Game Boy Pocket, Game Boy Color, and Game Boy Advance. I mean, if you compare that to popping it into my son's Game Boy Pocket, this is what his screen looks like. So yeah, it's okay. It's viewable because I've got decent light on in here. But it's not fantastic. You still have to sort of get it in the right light. And if I was to turn my kitchen lights off, that is what you are faced with. It's not great. So that is what happens when you plug a Game Boy game into a Game Boy Advance SP, and you get the same sort of a thing if you plug a Game Boy Color in. Now this is only for Game Boy Color, so this will not work on a Pocket or an original. But my battery is about to die. Here we go. So this is a Game Boy Color game in an original SP. So as you can see, it's great. You can see it. It's absolutely superb. I have the front light on. I'm now to turn my lights out. You could quite easily play these in the dark. I don't even know what this game is. It's called Check Your Balance. Yeah, I think so. Oh, Keep the Balance. But as you can see, it looks great and it plays fantastic. So that's what happens when you put Game Boy or Game Boy Color games in a Game Boy Advance. Yes, you get this big old chin because the cartridge only goes in about that far and they're quite big. If you were to put an Advance game in, then it doesn't stick out at all. There you go. That is Game Boy and Game Boy Color games in a Game Boy Advance SP first gen model. Like I said, the AGS 001, this one, has a front lit screen. The AGS 101, which are very sought after and very expensive, have backlit screens, and they are fantastic. You get an even better screen quality. Link, like, subscribe, enjoy.